TFA Fam. What is going on? Welcome into another TFA show. Tonight, as you can see by the title, we are breaking down our top 12 quarterback rankings, a little post NFL draft update. If you checked us out after free agency and we did these, we had a couple of guys move up and down, but not too many shakers. This one was definitely a lot easier for me, Kev, versus like the wide receivers, especially. Obviously we're only going our top 12 here. We'll get a little bit deeper as the season progresses and as we get closer to all these drafts kicking off. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Like I said, we're going to talk about our top 12 quarterbacks and then, mention some of the other guys who are right outside this list and guys that we're interested in, have a discussion on those. But we both have the same 1 and 2 with Mahomes and Prescott. You have Kyler Murray at 3, Lamar at 4, Josh Allen all the way down at 5. You hater. Aaron Rodgers at 6, Russ Wilson at 7, Justin Herbert at 8, Hurts at 9, Matt Stafford at 10, Matt Ryan at 11, Burrow at 12. And then after the top 2, I have Allen at 3, Murray at 4, Lamar at 5. Also have Aaron Rodgers at 6. I moved Joe Burrow all the way up to 7. Dropped Russ Wilson down to 8, Herbert down to 9. I moved Matt Ryan up to 10, Hurts at 11, and Matt Stafford at 12. Kev, I'll give you the floor here first. I think you moved Kyler Murray up, if I'm not mistaken. I think that the more I think about it, not that he would necessarily be a dark horse by any means, but I think that Kyler Murray could be someone who has QB1 overall potential. He quietly had over 800 rushing yards last season. Obviously adding somebody like Rondale Moore should help with the passing game a little bit too. Hopefully Cliff finally gets that guy that he's looking for, to do some of the jet sweeps and some of the, screens and things like that with, because he's obviously a monster with the ball in his hands. But just run me through your list here a little bit, and we'll start chopping it up on these QBs.
Yeah, I think that for me, the top 5, I feel really, really, really good about.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have Mahomes at 1. If you wanted to put somebody else there, I wouldn't hate it, but he's just the safest, and his ceiling is so damn high as well. The Chiefs didn't really do a whole lot this offseason with adding weapons in terms of really helping him out. But what the biggest thing they could have done was improve this offensive line dramatically. And that's something we've talked about a ton. Talked about it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's also huge for him. Giving him the time to actually sit back there now even longer to scan the field and find those open targets. But, this offense, they lost Sammy Watkins, and that's pretty much all that happened this offseason for them.
Huge loss.
Yeah, big time loss. But, the guy that only played 4 games a year for him. But overall, I still think the Chiefs are going to be in the market. I think they add another wide receiver. They added Colin Powell or Cordell Powell from the He came out of retirement from government work and decided to strap it on. I would. If you could go play with Pat Mahomes, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. That's all they really did, a 5th round wide receiver. But they've been linked to D.D. Westbrook. That's somebody that they've been talking about, maybe possibly adding. I don't know if I love that fit, but I definitely think they'll add a veteran wide receiver here before probably in the next month or so. They did make a trade today for Mike Hughes from the Vikings. But overall, Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. Dak Prescott was on pace to absolutely shatter the passing yardage numbers last year with over 5,000 passing yards. But he obviously got hurt. They bring back their entire plethora of weapons. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Zeke, Tony Pollard, Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, all these guys will be back for this offense. So this offense is going to be a lot of fun. The defense is still not going to be very good. So I absolutely love Dak. And right now, Dak, in best ball, for example, right now is the 5th quarterback being taken off the board. If that's the way it's going to go, I don't mind taking him. If he's there in the 5th or 6th round, I don't hate that, even in redraft. And that is early for me to ever consider taking a quarterback. But his upside and ceiling is so high that I really like Dak. Now, Kyler and Lamar, are kind of two of the same boats. Like Lamar wasn't great last year, especially as a passer, right? But that another 1,000-yard rushing season for him and 7 rushing touchdowns really boosts his floor on a week-to-week basis. Like he hasn't been a great passer, but now they finally added him some pass catchers back there with drafted Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace. So I mean, there's really no excuses for Lamar this year, but that rushing upside is always going to help him. And even in what was kind of not a great year last year, he was still 7th in fantasy points per game among all quarterbacks. So I really like him. So and Josh Allen, same thing, right? Like Josh Allen had a great year last year. I think they they didn't really do anything to hurt themselves this offseason. Added Emmanuel Sanders. So I like this offense that they have here. With Josh Allen, they bring back the same offensive coordinator as well. So all these guys are kind of right there, right? And, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know where he's going to end up, but I don't really care where he ends up because it's not going to affect him. If he goes to Denver, great. Yep. Like he's not moving up, he's not really moving down, right? If that's what happens. So there's no real reason to talk about that. Moving down a little bit further with some of these other quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts right now in best balls is being taken about QB8 right now. And, he was kind of the guy that, earlier in the offseason, because like a lot of people were kind of down on him because he kind of, he had some good performances late in the year whenever he got to start, but he also had a couple of really bad ones. And but I mean, the tides are turning and people, Jalen Hurts is going to be probably a top 8 quarterback being taken. And I don't hate it. I mean, his rushing upside is just as high as some of these other quarterbacks, like, Kyler Murray. Like he could rush for 600-700 rushing yards this year. And, adding Devontae Smith in this wide receiver core, Dallas Goedert's back, a lot of the same faces, but they added, arguably one of the best wide receivers in this rookie class. So I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but do you feel comfortable taking him at QB8?
I don't. I mean, I obviously have him ranked at 11, so I don't think I could do that. Something we were talking about on the wide receiver show, one of the ranking shows that we just did. I can't remember which one it was, but we were talking about, one of the ways to lose at fantasy football is to draft guys at their ceiling. And I kind of feel like, that would be the case with him because even with adding Devonta Smith, I think there's still questions about, is he going to be a true alpha? And then behind him, it's, Reagor and Goddard, which, fine weapons. Miles Sanders could obviously contribute, see what they do with somebody like Kenny Gainwell. But I kind of feel like at that point, you just be drafting him at his ceiling. And I know like you said, he had some games where he did go, over 300 passing yards. But then I think he had 2 of those games, and I think he had 2 that were like at like $170 or something like that. Like, so obviously they upgraded. Goddard's going to be healthy, regular full off season. I also think there's a question with how Sirianni is going to handle Hurts, and in this offense. I'm not sure if he's ever had a quarterback like Hurts before, so there's always a question with guys like that, and can they change their offense to fit someone like Hurts? So I think 8 would be a little rich for me, and I'm actually pretty surprised to hear you say that. I definitely thought you were going to say he was going a little bit lower, but 8 for me would just be a touch too high.
I don't hate it. He's going at 78.2 overall. In best ball. Now, quarterbacks are a little bit higher valued, a little bit more in best ball than you are in your standard redraft league. So, but I think he probably comes in somewhere right on there, probably in the 80s, maybe in the early 90s, somewhere around there, in terms of his ADP. And that rushing, it's tough because once you get past him, like there's not a ton of quarterbacks past him that you're going to be able to get. And let's face it, like I want a quarterback that has the ability to pick up rushing yards, because as we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years, this kind of switch, and getting a quarterback that can do that can really help out your weekly floor, where you're not worried about a quarterback going out and laying an egg and throwing for 201 and 2 picks, something like that, and they get you 8 fantasy points or whatever, right? Like you don't have to really worry about that with quarterbacks that can use their legs, because they can pick up 70 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown and really save your week and give you 15, 16 fantasy points, right? Like that's not something to write home about, but that ability to be able to do that. But once you get past Jalen Hurts, like, who's the next guy that really gives you that sort of upside? I mean, you have Justin Fields, who, if he gets to start, and depending on when that is, he's an option, but past that guy, like, I mean, I'm not saying you can't, roll out with Stafford or Matt Ryan or Burrow and some of these other guys, but I really try to get these guys that have that sort of upside because of their built-in floor.
Where do you think he finishes passing yards wise? I'm going to give you an over/under of 3,100.
Over.
Rushing touchdowns over/under 7.
Probably push if I could do it. Or under. I guess if I had to, I'd probably go under. That's
hedge life. No,
well, because I think 7's a fair number. Like, yeah, I mean, 10 rushing touchdowns is quite a bit for a quarterback. I mean, Lamar Jackson only had 7 last year himself.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm bringing that up, I just pulled up Josh Allen's numbers from 2019, obviously before he had his blow-up year last year. 2019, 3,089 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, and then he put up another 510 rushing yards on the ground with 9 touchdowns, and he finished as QB6. So I was just throwing that out there because that's what I mean. I feel like with the rushing floor that you're talking about, I'm just not entirely sure how high that passing ceiling is in this offense. So I feel like this might be a decent comp kind of fantasy points wise for somebody like Jalen Hurts, kind of like a 2019 Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I see some other positives too with this team is they're getting all their offensive linemen back. So, and they also they drafted Landon Dickerson, which I think was an excellent move by them. So I think he is going to be one of the best offensive linemen that came from this class as well. So, getting Brandon Brooks back, getting their offensive line healthy is also going to be a big plus because, they pretty much lost everybody last year, their offensive line. So I think all of those things considered, I think that, that's just why I feel pretty comfortable with taking him. Even if I have to take him in the 8th or 9th round, I don't really hate doing that because I think he does have, it wouldn't surprise me if he finished with 700-800 rushing yards this year. Like it's definitely in the range of possibilities for him to be able to do something like that. But these last 3 guys, Matt Stafford.
Real quick, would you rather have? You talked about being willing to take Dak in the 5th or 6th. Would you rather have Dak in the 5th or Hurts where he's currently going?
Where he's currently going, I would rather have Dak.
Okay.
Because there's only like a 23 pick. Yeah, it's about a 23 pick difference between the two of them. So not even a full 2-round difference. And I would rather have Dak because I know that I'm going to get 5,000 rushing yards or 5,000. I'm going to get 5. That would be amazing. That I'm going to get probably at least 4,500 passing yards, 30 plus touchdowns. I think is fair. And then you probably can count on, 200 or 300 rushing yards possibly. Now, that might be brought back a little bit. They may not let him rush as much this year because of the injuries coming from too.
Right. Where were you? Who are you going to bring up next?
Well, I was just going to say, let's talk about the last 3 guys. Matt Stafford going to the Rams, Matt Ryan, and Joe Burrow. Mainly, let's talk about Matt Ryan and Joe Burrow because Matt Ryan, like, how are you going to handle him if Julio Jones gets traded?
I still think I'm going to keep him. I put him up at 10. You have him at 11. He's still going to be a QB1 for me because I just feel like with that defense, they have questions at every level. The run game, we were both completely surprised that I thought bringing in Arthur Smith, they were guaranteed to take a running back, and they didn't add anybody. And I'm not sure. I know that Mike Davis filled in very admirably for CMC last year, but I'm just not sure you want to put, you're obviously not going to give him Derrick Henry level carries and just have him be the one who, you power your offense through. But I don't think they're really going to be able to have a very strong run game at all. So I think even if Julio Jones is out of the picture, still having Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts as your 1-2 is still a really good 1-2. And then we've seen Russell Gage be able to step up. He was getting double-digit targets and 100 yards through the first 3 out of 4 games or something at the beginning of last season. I know he had that pretty nice start and had a lot of us talking about picking him up as a waiver guy. So even if Julio Jones is out of the picture, I'm really not going to drop him that far. He's still going to be on that QB1 fringe for me. Obviously, if Julio here's the question. If Julio stays, I kind of think he's gonna be gone. I just don't see the point of really keeping him. I guess at this point, like if you're gonna be able to get something for him at this point of his career, I just don't see why you wouldn't do that. I don't think they're true contenders. But if for some reason, let's say Julio stays, how high would you move Matt Ryan in that instance? Or is this kind of like, are you capping him at 11?
Yeah, he probably would stay right where he's at. Like I made these rankings with the thought that Julio Jones stays. I do like that. I do think that having Arthur Smith there is going to be a much better situation than having Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator. The thing that would worry me is the Falcons are going, if they trade Julio Jones, they are going to be extremely thin at wide receiver because they added nothing at wide receiver.
Right.
They still,
Right.
I mean, they're past them. It's Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley, and obviously adding Kyle Pitts. But at wide receiver, I mean, they have nothing past that. So you get rid of Julio, Russell Gage is all of a sudden your number 2 wide receiver. And if anything happens to either one of those guys, it is going to be a real problem because they have nothing behind that. So that would be that's
fair.
So with them. And then as far as Joe Burrow, are you concerned at all about the injury and you think he's gonna be able to come back quick? I mean, it sounds like he's on track and he's gonna be good to go, but
yeah, I mean, all signs right now point to, we thought there was potentially a possibility he was going to miss like half of next season. And it kind of seems like he's on track to start week 1 tentatively now. So, I mean, I think worst case scenario, maybe he misses the first, 2-3 games. And obviously, if we get news like that, I'm going to end up moving him down from 7. I kind of aggressively moved him up here. I just feel like, that defense, even though they made some nice additions in the offseason, like that's still not a great unit at all, even after adding guys like Ogunjobi. They obviously swapped out Lawson for Trey Hendrickson on the one side, but like they're linebackers, that's still a young, unproven unit. They're going to get Trey Waynes back. I think he like tore a pec or something at the beginning of the year last year. And then they picked up Chidobe Awuzie and Mike Hilton from the Steelers. So even though they made some additions to this defense, I still don't really see that, that defense being able to, really control games or stop a lot of offenses, particularly in that division they're playing in. So I think we still get a lot of pass attempts from Burrow. And the reason why I put Burrow above Herbert, I mean, I think with the Chargers not really adding anybody outside of Josh Palmer. I know they brought in Jared Cook, but I mean, I don't think Jared Cook is going to be the guy to elevate this offense and help Herbert. So it's kind of the same group they brought in last year. Obviously, having a healthy Austin Eckler will help him out as well. But I just think there's more room for improvement. If you look at some of the efficiency stats between Burrow and Herbert, Herbert was kind of middle of the pack for most things, but Burrow was kind of, was below average for a decent chunk of things. And obviously adding somebody like Jamar Chase to pair with Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, who, they came out and said they don't want Mixon leaving the field, obviously got rid of Gio Bernard. So I think all of those things point to more room to grow and a better ceiling for Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I would probably lean towards Herbert myself, but let's just well, a couple of things. One, we have to discuss the big name that's being omitted or that is not on either one of our lists, and that's Deshaun Watson. And I think obviously we both don't have him on there because we don't know what the situation is going to be. I don't know if he's going to play. It sounds like from some of the stuff that we were hearing lately that they're planning on this whole lawsuit's going to be wrapped up well before the season. And if that happens, then we'll obviously know where he lands. Because right now in best balls, I got him the other day. Like right now, he's going at QB 26 in best ball.
That's wild.
I'm about that life. Like I took him. I took him in like the 13th round. Like it's best ball, right? That's what you're shooting for. You're shooting for that because if he pays off, you get him at Deshaun Watson there. I mean, it's not a great offense. Let's first be honest about that. Like it's Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Kiki Kuti's still there. They don't really have a tight end. Like this is going to be like if Deshaun Watson's out there, they're going to go. They could go 0-17. They could be the first NFL team to go 0-17 because that's how bad they're going to be. But
how dare you besmirch Brevin Jordan like that?
Yeah, who? Fifth or sixth round pick, Brevin Jordan. Come on.
Dude, he should easily get opportunity. He should easily get on the field. There's no one stopping him. I mean, I don't know why he slid, but I don't think like if he would have went, round 3, round 2, round 3, I don't think either of us would have been surprised.
No, but I guess. I mean, he's not going to be the reason that all of a sudden they're a great offense. The point I'm making is that if Deshaun Watson is cleared and he's there week 1, where are you putting him? Because I think I would put him probably 8 or 9. Deshaun Watson's a baller, right? Look what he did last year. Who did they lose?
Fuller.
So they lost Will Fuller, but then he played without Will Fuller because Will Fuller got suspended.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably slide him like that 6, 7, 8 range.
Yeah, and so for me, Joe Burrow would drop off the top 12 if that happens. So
the other name that we do not have, who is currently in the Fantasy Pros consensus, is Tom Brady. He is sitting there at 10. We obviously do not have him in our top 12. For me, I think the thing that we have to remember from last year is this defense didn't really click the way that it was clicking until the end of the year. And, obviously there is some sort of emphasis being put on the run game with bringing back all those, both Rojo and Fournette, and then bringing in Gio Bernard as well. And then the other interesting thing with the schedule coming out, if you go to Sharp Football Stats, they have a strength of schedule tool. And the way that theirs works is they do it based on their opponent's forecasted win total. So it's not based off of last year's stuff. They're basing it off of kind of the Vegas win totals for this year. And the Bucs have the 5th easiest schedule behind the Niners, Broncos, Browns, and then Miami at 4. So, I mean, how often, and, Brady dropped back quite a bit. Are they really going to do that again this year? So all those things kind of combined is the reason why I dropped him outside. And, just like some of these options more, was there any other reasons that I did not cover that had you drop Brady out of your top 12?
He's borderline. I mean, I have him at 13. So I don't think it's terrible. I mean, he was QB 9 last year in fantasy points per game. So, I don't, like I said, I have him at QB 13. It's just for me, it's like if you're a complete zero in the running department, like it's tough, right?
Yeah.
To have him there. And then you say, well, why do you have Matt Stafford and Matt Ryan ahead of him? Which is a fair argument. Fair argument, okay? But, I don't know. He's going to be 4 this year? Yeah, 44. He's 43, almost 44. But I mean, I'm not saying oh, it is coming, because the man just won a Super Bowl. I have nothing to say about that. So he's right there. Like it's not like I'm egregiously low on him. I think I'm not that far off of consensus of where he's going, because currently right now I think he's like QB 13 coming off the board and an underdog. So I'm right there with where people are taking him. Really quickly before we wrap this thing up, because we're already way longer than what we were planning on doing. What are your thoughts really quickly on the rookie quarterbacks? I assume that if you're going to take one and redraft, Trevor Lawrence would be the first guy you would be looking to take?
Yeah, I have Lawrence at 15, just because I feel like his situation is a little more clear. Depending on where, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson end up falling, and, if I miss out on any of like the top 5, like if, let's say Dak is going to be the 5th of whoever the cheapest is that like maybe falls to the 6th. If I'm at a spot where I don't feel like taking one of those guys, I'm completely fine with, rolling the dice on, guys like, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and kind of, if they don't work out, just streaming honestly for the rest of the year. But Lawrence would be the guy that I would roll with. Like I said, I just feel like his situation is a little more stable, I guess. Like we can look at that and kind of try to piece together that puzzle a little bit easier than someone like Wilson and Fields. We've talked about Justin Fields in this offense a couple of times now between talking about David Montgomery on our running back show and obviously A-Rob during the wide receivers. Do you have those guys? Do you have those guys close? Because I'll be honest, like I kept going back and forth, and like I wanted to keep putting Wilson Fields higher, but like there were just guys ahead of them. I just felt, I guess, safer. I think they have higher ceilings, but I don't know about their floors. Where do you have those other guys in relation to Trevor Lawrence?
So for me, I think it's pretty clear that Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence would probably be the guy. Because one, we know 100% he's going to start day one, and obviously we know Zach Wilson's going to start is going to start too. But I feel like Trevor Lawrence is probably more NFL ready to come right in and be able to contribute day one. I love their offense with LaVisca and DJ Chark and Travis Etienne, who they added, which is still a terrible pick, but that's a conversation for a different day, which I've already said a million times already. But so I like the situation that Trevor Lawrence is in. I think their offensive line is at least it's definitely I think it's middle of the pack, right? It's probably 14 to 16, somewhere in that range in terms of offensive lines. So I think this offense is ready to kind of go right out the gate. So I don't mind with Trevor Lawrence being the number one. Two would be Justin Fields for me, the guy that I would want to take, because the thing is, I don't know when he's going to play. They have Andy Dalton there. I wouldn't be surprised if they slow play this like NFL teams always do and let him chill on the bench for 3 or 4 weeks until Andy Dalton can't get it done. And then, the whole fan base is calling for Justin Fields, and then they bring him in. If he gets a start from day one, I will have Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence in redraft because of his rushing upside, because of that athletic ability to possess. Not that Trevor Lawrence can't, because Trevor Lawrence can be a mobile quarterback, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to get 600-700 rushing yards like Justin Fields could if he wanted to. Now, Justin Fields isn't a pure running quarterback at all, but he has that threat just like Kyler Murray does. To be able to do those things. And the offense with Allen Robinson there, I like that. Darnell Mooney, hopefully Cole Kmet can pick it up. Tariq Cohen, they have pass catchers there as well, so he's in a good spot. And so with that being said, if we found out Justin Fields is starting day one, that's my late round quarterback that I'm going to take, because I love that rushing floor, that rushing upside that he possesses. And again, he falls in that same bucket as some of these other quarterbacks that I like. They're going top 5. And you're going to be able to get him probably 13th, 14th round, somewhere in that range. So I would have him there, and then Zach Wilson would be after them. Just for this year is where I would have it. Now, if somehow Trey Lance starts, which there's no way I can see it, it's got to be. Now, if somehow the 49ers traded Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance started, now we're going to get really interested because of that offense with Kyle Shanahan. But I don't foresee it. I think we could see, though, Trey Lance starting sometime this year, and he's going to be like the top waiver ad 1 week whenever he finally gets to start.
100%, yeah. Let's say they do trade him. Lance is starting week 1. We'll finish on this. Where are you putting Lance in relation to these guys?
I would probably put even Trey Lance ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. It'd be really close because, again, he also offers that same thing, that Konami code factor that I'm looking for. And being in an offense with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. And we've seen what Kyle Shanahan's offenses have been able to do with much less quarterbacks, right? Mullins and Jimmy Garoppolo is. He's Jared Goff.
He's fine.
He's an average quarterback,
he's
right?
Fine.
Yeah, but he's been able to get the most out of a lot of these guys. And so Trey Lance, I don't know if it's the best move for him to start early. I just don't think it is. But I would then put it would probably be Fields and Lance than Lawrence, but it'd be pretty close.
Yeah, I also think I'm in the same boat. So that's going to wrap things up for us. As always, just going much longer than we anticipated, but we appreciate you guys kicking with us. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Leave us a rating review on podcast form. We really appreciate the comments and support we've been getting, helping us to continue to grow here. So until the next time, we'll talk to all you guys soon.